All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It has not been pretty at times for the Ohio State Buckeyes this college football season, but at the end of the day, they just continue to win, which is the most important stat. This past Saturday, Ohio State trailed Rutgers 9-7 at the half before their defense was able to shift the momentum of that contest in favor of the Scarlet and Gray, as the Buckeyes would go on to win 35-16. Now, the Buckeyes have rode their stingy defense throughout this year as they are fifth in the nation in total defense. And Ohio State was able to keep that streak going as no Buckeye opponent so far this season has been able to score 20 points against them. Maryland is the high, has the high score, so to speak. Like I'm talking like a video game. But Maryland, was able to get 17 on Ohio State. But you think about it. I mean, it's all about surviving the year. And that's what Ohio State has done. They've had so many injuries on the offensive side of the ball. And they've also been breaking in a new starting quarterback this year in Kyle McCord. And I bring these things up because in recent years, we've just expected Ohio State to just steamroll people, putting up 40 or 50 points per game and just flexing their muscles. The Buckeyes still have the talent on offense, but they just haven't had that cohesion, if you will, throughout this year. But even with that, here in early November, with their unblemished record of 9-0, the Buckeyes, they're sitting atop the college football playoff rankings, and they're thinking about getting back to the field of four. I mean, let's not gloss over anything, rather. Ohio State beat a very good Rutgers team on Saturday. And, you think about it, going on the road back in September to, squeak out that win against Notre Dame was big for this team and quarterback Kyle McCord holding serve a couple of weeks ago at home against a very good Penn State team. I think, Penn State, in my opinion, they have what it takes to win the Big Ten, but their biggest issue in recent years, they've been in the same division with both Ohio State and Michigan. But nonetheless, I mean, you think about it, Ohio State, so much talent on the defensive side of the ball, football, led by linebacker Tommy Eichenberg. And then, of course, the Marvin Harrison Jr. factor. And of course, he's been getting more attention this year with so many injuries on offense, especially to the likes of Emeka Egbuka, who just came back. But nonetheless, Marvin Harrison Jr., and I talked about this the other night. I know that a lot of hoopla is going to be around the quarterback position for next year's NFL draft, and rightfully so. But I feel, in my opinion, going into that draft, that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the best player available. And I think he's one of the best players in college football right now. Nonetheless, I bring this up because even when Ohio State's offense is struggling at times, I feel like Marvin Harrison Jr. is that home run hitter that can change the tenor of a contest in a New York minute. You just go back and look at the Peach Bowl loss for Ohio State last year to Georgia. The tenor of that game changed when Marvin Harrison Jr. went out with the concussion. Nonetheless, even though Kyle McCord has been up and down throughout this season so far for Ohio State, the Marvin Harrison Jr. factor can change a lot of that because he can just go out there and just change a game in one single instance. And now you're getting Emeka Egbuka back. And hopefully, if you're Ohio State, he can stay healthy throughout the remainder of the season. And of course, if Emeka Egbuka is healthy, that's going to draw some attention away from Marvin Harrison Jr., give him the opportunity to go out there and make even more big plays in this offense for the Buckeyes. For Ryan Day, this is year number 5 as a full-time head coach at Ohio State. Of course, he filled in for 3 games when Urban Meyer served a suspension back in 2018. But nonetheless, 54-6 overall, 51-6 since he has become the full-time guy in Columbus. All this guy does is win. And, only 2 conference losses under his belt, if you will, at Ohio State. But the problem is, and this is unfortunate, it's that the last 2 guys that were the full-time coaches at Ohio State, you're talking about Jim Tressel And of course, Urban Meyer won national championships there. So, of course, that's the standard. And of course, Ohio State, regardless of that, has a huge standard of success. And people want to see that happen. But again, all Ryan Day has done is win. He's gotten Ohio State to the college football playoff twice. They lost in the national championship game back in 2020 to Alabama. Then, of course, getting to the semis last year. But nonetheless, the Buckeyes, and I think they do have the right guy leading this team in Ryan Day. But nonetheless, for Ohio State, getting to the finish line at this point, they got three more games. They've got Michigan State this Saturday at home. Then they've got Minnesota next Saturday at home, Senior Day, of course, in Columbus. And then finally going up to Ann Arbor on the last Saturday of the month. And of course, there's going to be a lot around that game. Of course, the sign stealing scandal that is plaguing the Michigan program right now. What's going to become of that? We don't know. But if you are Ohio State, I think you have a good opportunity ahead of you to win the Big Ten because, again, regardless if it's Penn State, Michigan, or Ohio State, they are the cream of the crop, if you will, for the Big Ten Conference. The Big Ten West is not on the same level with the Big Ten East, and that is why we've seen blowouts in the last couple of years in the Big Ten championship game. Nonetheless, I think that Ohio State not only has what it takes to win the Big Ten. Of course, if they do win the Big Ten and go undefeated, they're headed to the playoff. They're going to be a dangerous team in that field of four. The one thing for me is with Kyle McCord, he's been up and down this year. At some point, and I know, he led the game-winning drive against Notre Dame. At some point, Kyle McCord is going to have to go out there and throw Ohio State to a win because if you get into that playoff and you've got to deal with Georgia or you got to deal with an Oregon or, possibly an Alabama or a Texas, somebody like that, you're going to have to score some points. Your defense is going to give you an opportunity to win, yes, but your playmakers are going to have to rise to the occasion. So that's going to be the interesting thing. Will Kyle McCord be able to take that next step, in that big moment for Ohio State if in the playoff? We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, you got to like what you're seeing from Ohio State. It's been up and down on offense. I totally understand that. But the Buckeyes are still in it. And with that said, if they can just click at the right time on offense, this is going to be a very dangerous team should they get into the playoff. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.